Good morning. I would like to introduce how brain mapping can help your child or student reach optimal performance. I'm a neuroscientist and I use brain mapping techniques to measure and to advise on the best way to optimize your brain performance. So as you can see here, brain performance is a function of two important points. The first point is language development. There is a large area of the brain dedicated for language. And the more skillful we are in reading, writing, and speaking, the better able we are to form conceptual thinking. And besides processing language, the brain is also involved in processing information, information of all sorts, math facts, facts about the world, and facts about how we do things. So conceptual thinking and information processing keep developing in a child. And the more advanced that this child or student is performing in them, the better able they are to regulate themselves. In fact, academic competence does predict the ability to regulate emotions. So it's important that we do well, not only for a good grade, but for self-control of all kinds, which will lead to performance excellence. We need excellent workforce. We need workforce that is able to not only process information, but create, solve problems. There are all kinds of problems in this world that require, expert attention. What I'm talking about is nurturing a population of people capable of responding to the problems and demand of this modern world. As you can see here, I'm showing you the brain activity from two children. The panel on the left, where you can see the brains, and it looks gray. Gray is the color coding for normal activity. This is a turn-on child. All areas of the brain are active and they are functioning in a balanced way. And this is what we would like to see for optimal performance. And on the right here, where you can see blue circles, I am sure every teacher, every parent have encountered them. This is what I would call a turn-off student. They are not interested, they don't seem to understand what you tell them to, not motivated. If you look inside their brain, it's not turned on. Blue basically means the activity level is lower than normal. So when you encounter a student like that, and the part that is most turned off is the frontal lobe, not thinking. And this student tend to be impulsive, prone to distractions, and all kinds of things. So by looking at the brain activity, we will be able to guide each of the student. And next, I'm talking about the era of brain imaging. Just like when we have discovered the microscope and understand how microorganism causes disease, we revolutionize the way we treat patients and handle diseases, especially infectious disease. So in the same way, the era of brain imaging, we hope that it is not only applicable to people who have disease or disorders. Brain imaging allows us to look inside the brain, and when we can do so, it could lead to a variety of application. I'm sure you all have heard of the MRI, which is magnetic resonance imaging, and MRI allow us to look inside the brain while the person is alive, which is very valuable. MRI tend to be used for people with problems, with disorders. It's used for diagnosis, is used for figuring out brain damage, for example. But then the neuroimaging methods can also be applied to other situations. Another imaging method is called the electroencephalogram, or the EEG. EEG measures electrical activity from the brain, and because of our computational capacity nowadays, we could measure all kinds of things: brain connectivity and the performance of the brain. So this is what this looks like. When the brain connects with one another, one area connects with another, it would form cooperation. In neuroscientific terms, neurons that fire together, wire together. When the neurons wire together, you would be able to see strong connection. And this pyramid here under adults with the solid line is representing strong connection. Strong connection means information is efficiently passed on from one area of the brain to another. Information transfer is very important for performance. So if you're not connecting well, your performance will be slowed down or not being able to. On the left here, you can see the connectivity profile of a child. So in a child, because they are still developing, the strength of connection is not what it is in an adult, which is why you can see that the adult is superior in a lot of functioning: judgment, executive function, and emotional control, social perception, all these things. The child is still developing. We can calculate the strength of connectivity and create a map of them. And because we are able to create a map, we are able to guide the performance of the child. So next, I want to talk about academic performance in particular. If your child is in school, I'm very sure the question is, how can I get a better grade? How can I do better in an exam? Understanding the topic does not necessarily lead to better exam scores. In fact, when we talk about exam techniques, we are talking about brain performance. So here's an example that I would like to illustrate. So for example, if you look at any topic, whether it's math, English, history, geography, social studies, what you are looking at is understanding the different terms in a particular subject. Think of those terms as character in the story: John, Jim, Linda, and these are the characters, the main players. So each term represents a main player in the story. And then the story developed, there may be some drama that's going on, and the student need to know what the story is about, where it is going. So these are the basic facts about the topic. Let's say history, right? So you know the players in the historical era and what happened and what setting, very much like a story. So when the student's able to relate back in the exam about the topic, I think they would have passed. A pass grade, a C grade, right? That's what I call the low-hanging fruit. The mid-hanging fruit requires a bit more attention to details, where the student would have to pick the right answer from two very similar answers. Equally likely, it requires their discrimination skills. When you are able to discriminate between one answer and a better answer, you would be able to apply your basic knowledge into some direction. So some rudimentary application is needed. So for students who could do that, who are careful and reading the question carefully and answering carefully and doing that correctly, they would get a grade of B, right? That's the mid-hanging fruit. So for students who wants to get A, you need to be able to have the skills of both the low-hanging fruit and the mid-hanging fruit. The high-hanging fruit allows the student, requires the student to apply the concepts that they have learned, it's conceptual thinking, to new problems. They need to solve problems. So people who can answer high-hanging fruit questions will of course deserve A. These people we really need in the workforce. We need them to solve new problems, problems about the environment, social problems, all kinds of problems that we encounter in many areas of life: engineering, psychology, medicine, education. We need people who can handle high-hanging fruit. And this is what we are about when we look inside the brain. How can we educate more of these students who can handle higher level mental functions? Predicted IQ of students, the predicted IQ gives us an idea of the efficiency of the brain networks. Remember, on the one hand is how well you do with your language, on the other hand, how well you do in your brain networking. The better that two works together, the more competent you are academically. So I am doing this video reaching out to all parents, teachers, tutoring institute, because we are in the era of the brain and neuroscience. Just like how the microscope could enhance the field of medicine, I feel like the brain mapping technology can enhance the results of the student and can enhance education. What can we do? What would our collaboration look like? I can measure the connections in the brain of the student, predict the efficiency of processing, in fact measure them, identify any weakness. Weakness could be comprehension, could be recall, could be problem solving, could be resilience. Resilience means not able to stay focused for prolonged time. We can improve on those things, develop a plan with the teacher or the tutoring school, carry out the plan, have some feedback to see how the student is performing, and remeasure brain connections. Anytime that you work on any function, you will improve the connectivity of the brain. And it's really exciting to see improvement. So what we are doing here is to use technology to guide the performance of students. In order to perform well, we need to be able to pay attention when we want to. We can control our impulses and distractibility and stay focused. The more focused we are, the more information that we can get. And of course, memory recall is really important if you are doing your final exams, your SAT, and things like that. You would need to recall a large amount of information. Comprehension, you do need to know what the topic is about, especially when you need to apply and discriminate similar answers. And problem solving actually speaks for itself. You know, it's not enough to just regurgitate information. We need to do critical thinking if we are to have superior performing students and superior workforce. Problem solving, creativity, and resilience is what would lead America to the next level of performance. So anyone who is interested, you're welcome to speak to me. I'm here to help your student and your child reach the optimal level of performance. Don't settle for mediocre. Settle for the highest and the greatest. Thank you for listening.